So I want to introduce you to my audiobook, His Dark Side, which I'm going to publish on this channel very, very soon. And it's going to be a sizzling, hot summer romance. It's going to be a good read. And it's for the ladies, not for the men so much. The men, you can read it. I mean, you can listen to it. But it's really for women. And it's about this woman who meets a psychopath. And they embark on this romantic journey. And it's going to have a lot of ups and downs. It starts off really, wonderful and romantic, and then he turns, and it's going to be a sizzling hot summer romance read. It's going to be a summer audiobook, and I will be publishing it on this channel after this podcast. So it's going to come after this podcast, and I really, really think it's going to be fantastic. And it's geared towards ladies, not men. So, and I'm going to read the first 2 chapters as an audiobook, and then I'm going to read every time I upload the book as an audiobook. It's going to be 2 chapters of it that I'm going to be reading. I have to hand it to Justin Lee. He might be full of it. He might tell a lot of lies, but he is pure comedy gold. He claims just because Chris Watts didn't get to speak to his mummy and daddy, had no communication with his mummy and daddy, that is illegal, and that should enable him to get a new trial. Oh, God. He has no idea about how the law works. The guy is like 34 years old, not 12, when he was arrested for the murder of his family, for the annihilation of his entire family. No one is going to care about that for a new trial. The fact that he wasn't able to speak to his mummy and daddy. And the love bombing of Cindy Watts from him is just amazing. I mean, the clapping and everything is so animated. It's just so over the top. I mean, the guy deserves an Academy Award. How has he not been awarded with the Best Actor Award yet? So Justin Subs, who don't like me, said, I get an average of 30 likes, and that must make me so sad because I only get 30 likes on my videos. These people are so shallow to think that I would care so gravely about that, and that's really going to hurt my feelings. Obviously, they haven't seen the videos where I've got over 100 likes, 70 or 80 likes, or the few that I have 30 likes must really upset me. I mean, this is how shallow some of these people are. Not all of them, because some of his subs are also my subs, and there are some subs that we have together that like both of us. But there's a good portion of his subs that they are so. I mean, these are people in their late 40s, 50s upwards, and they act like they're in high school. I mean, they really, really think that that's going to hurt my feelings. Anyway, let's get on to the subject of Cindy Watts. I've already said that I'm not a fan of Cindy Watts, and I never will be. That doesn't mean to say that she didn't suffer a horrible tragedy. I think my problem with Cindy Watts is that she never, ever held her son responsible for his actions. And hearing her say to him that she didn't care, when she spoke to him in jail, she said to him that she didn't care what he did. She just loves him so much. The fact that you wouldn't ask your son, why on earth would you put my grandbabies in those tanks? The fact that never came to her mind, she never asked him that question. She never showed any disgust in him doing that. Her focus was always just on berating Shanann. Led me to have very little sympathy, if any, for her. I think also the fact that they started that channel, with KK, stringing them on with this 35C lie. And, you have the other creators now. You've got AD and Dave and now Justin, who are very, very much anti-Ruzek and pro-Watts. And I think that they are giving Cindy and Ronnie Watts, who I believe still are lurking in the background, I think they're giving Ronnie and Cindy Watts a lot of false hope. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Justin is so desperate to speak to Ronnie and Cindy Watts. I honestly think he wants to be adopted by them. And, the praise and everything. I mean, I think it was less than 48 hours after Justin made that fake apology video, he was just back to his old tricks. And I knew that apology video was fake because I could just tell. I mean, I can read him now. He was back to bashing the Rusex and putting the Watts on a pedestal. If he really thinks that the fact that Chris Watts wasn't able to speak to his mummy and daddy while he was waiting in jail, if he really thinks that because Chris Watts wasn't able to speak to his parents for whatever reason while he was waiting in jail, awaiting whatever in jail, his sentence, if he really thinks that that's going to get Chris Watts a new trial, then he's severely, and I mean severely, delusional, because he was a grown man. And he wasn't a 12-year-old. He didn't have to speak to his parents. There's no requirement to speak to your parents when you're waiting in jail for a sentence hearing or whatever, when you're 34 years old and a grown man. So I don't know what script he's reading from, but there is nothing that's going to get Chris Watts a new trial. And he's just giving Cindy and Ronnie very, very false hope. And it really is quite comical. I guess it's very good for content, though, good for his content, although there's no ads running on his videos anymore. So I just want to talk to you about Cindy Watts and her facial expressions, and I want to talk to you about how things have changed in terms of how people view her. The tide has turned. Yes, she did receive severe backlash when she did that interview. And still to this day, I will admit, the vast majority of people are not fans of Cindy Watts. However, things have changed in terms of she does have a lot more support now. And, we can weigh up all the reasons why the tide has turned slightly, but I would still definitely say that the Rusex still have more support than the Watts. However, I don't see any hate channels on the Watts family. I don't see people criticize the Watts to this day, but I don't see how they're being harassed. I don't see any harassment with the Watts family at all. But I'm just going to read, I think I'm going to start with the comments under the video that she did for her first interview. And I noticed that when she starts to talk about Shanann, she really starts to distort and scrunch up her face. The way she talks about Shanann, curling her lips, scowling, the way she twitches her nose, you can see that the subject of Shanann really, really gets under her skin. And you can tell by watching the interview, any normal person can tell by watching this interview, that she really doesn't like Shanann. So anyway, this is the interview that I'm going to read the comments that are underneath it. And this was the backlash interview. And I'm going to read the comments underneath that. And I'm going to read the comments underneath the new videos as well to see how things have changed when it comes to how people view Cindy Watts. So this is the comments under the first interview that she did where she received the backlash. And I struggled to find any positive comments about Cindy Watts here. She refuses to see her son as the monster he truly is. Absolutely disgusting and infuriating. I have to agree with that. I never thought this could happen to him. She acts like he is a victim. It's literally insane. There are so many comments under this video that now has over 1 million views, almost 1.5 million views. And to find a positive comment underneath this video is virtually impossible. Let's try and see. She's a classic victim blamer. And I'm not going to say what the next line is because it's just going to be like horrible. Let's see. Let's go down. Yeah, the comments underneath this video are particularly vicious. No tears for her grandchildren, only for her son. How very odd and sociopathic. Oh, I literally cannot find a single positive comment about Cindy Watts underneath this video. But then again, this was done. She's living a nightmare. She can't accept her son did this, even though he confessed. Poor lady. It must be extremely hard in her mind. I think she's expecting to wake up and see that it was all a dream. Unfortunately, it wasn't. That wasn't too bad. Oh God, the comments are really nasty. I mean, they really are. Some of them I can't even read them because it will be like just very, very hateful. It's amazing how she describes her son being at Shanann's beck and call. This cruel woman was jealous that her son was no longer under her control. Cindy Watts had her whole family at her beck and call, her own husband. Oh God. I'm sure his addiction, in referring to Ronnie Watts, was a result of living with this horrendous, vile. Oh, I wouldn't even say the rest of that. I mean, the comments are really bad. I mean, really harsh. Some people believe that the Netflix documentary made people turn against the Watts. I don't think it was that at all, because I think it was her first interview, long before the Netflix documentary that came out, that people just didn't like her. And now I'm going to start reading. I'm going to read one more comment, then I'm going to read the more positive comments. Oh God, the comments under this are really, really, really harsh. She didn't mention her sorrow for her grandbabies once. She only feels bad for Chris, and that's sick. Oh my God, the comments underneath this, it's just overwhelming dislike. Right, so now I'm going to read the comments under a more positive video about Cindy Watts. Okay, she has been criticized for telling her truth, but what is she supposed to say? That everything was perfect? Then they would have called her a liar. The best she could do, and what she actually did, is tell her truth, no matter what others say. The truth always. Hope CW tells the truth and learns from his mum one day. It will be a deserved rest for both families. Obviously, you see the complete contradiction from that comment to the comments that I just read. Mostly overwhelmingly positive comments underneath this video. I would be disappointed if my son brought home a Shanann. In your mother's heart, you know they won't be treated right. Everything seems to be shrouded in secrecy. Wow, Cindy called it. Chris Watts' human rights were violated by not being allowed family visits before the trial. Every one of us needs to put ourselves in Cindy's shoes and imagine how we'd feel if this happened to us. Well, I don't agree with that. I think that Chris Watts violated his own family's rights to live. I don't think that Chris Watts, I don't feel sorry for Chris Watts at all. I don't have any sympathy for him, and I don't think any of his rights were violated. And I think he's exactly where he deserves to be. Cindy was a woman ahead of her time. She got backlash because of the timing right after the crime. However, she had wanted to do that interview now. However, had she wanted to do that interview now, we would be nodding our heads in agreement. So yeah, you see I have to do the contradicting comments to be balanced and to be fair. And so that's why I'm reading these. That's what a gracious and classy lady is. I have mad respect for her. Always felt bad for Miss Watts and the whole family. Mrs. Watts, sorry. People can't handle the honesty. I pray for this family every day. So as you can see, right down the middle, I'm just reading to you the comments, the positive comments about her and the negative comments. I think what I can say about this is that I think that her first interview was so damaging. And even though there are people who support her now, I think because that interview was the first interview she gave and it has over 1 million views, I think that her reputation with the public is never going to be completely repaired. And I think that she only has herself to blame for that, because for me personally, her interview came across as very disingenuous, just putting all the blame on Shanann. She wasn't fair and balanced in her assessment. And she also repeated what Chris Watts told his dad, which was a complete lie. So, blaming everything on Shanann, even the crime on Shanann. And I don't think there's any way back from that. But I think what you can see now is that there is a lot more positive feelings about Cindy Watts, and she does have a lot of support, a lot more support than she did have in the beginning.